Good morning, and welcome back to the Invo Insider Podcast, episode 5. It's hard to believe, 5 episodes in. I'm your host, Ryan Heffernan. Thanks again to all who are joining us, wherever you might be listening. And I'm joined by my co-host and ultimate cowboy, Jake Martin. So how are you, Jake Martin?
The ultimate cowboy, is that right?
The ultimate cowboy. I promise there is a connection between Jake Martin and cowboys. I think that Jake owns some cowboy boots. I'm not 100% sure. I could be mistaken.
Multiple pairs of cowboy boots. Thank you. I just call them boots, though. I don't call them cowboy boots.
That's fair. On the other hand, I've never been confused as a cowboy, so you don't have to worry about me.
We can change that.
Yeah.
I see a 10-gallon hat in your future now.
I don't think so. I really don't think so.
Yeah, I feel like I could hold you down for that.
Yeah, maybe, but I don't think so. We have an awesome podcast in store for you this month. We have Brooke Collins from Mobiloil Federal Credit Union joining us today for an interview.
She's excited.
The AVP of Virtual Services over there at Mobiloil, and luckily for them, we actually already have a case study done for them that's actually published already. It's already out. I say that a bit tongue-in-cheek because we are promising all these case studies, and they are all going to be dropped this week, so all at the same time. So whenever we said during those interviews that we were going to drop case studies, we actually meant they were all going to be dropped at the same time. But Mobiloil already had theirs done. So no, but we promise we're going to get those other ones out. And I also promise that there's another connection. There is a connection to Jake and Cowboy Boots in this podcast to come. But before we get to Brooke, I want to dive right into the Invo Monthly and sort of give you guys an idea of what's been going on at Invo. It's been a really, really busy month these last few weeks. Jake and our Invo Insider host, James Dennis, spent some time in Texas. The Cornerstone League's Impact 2023 conference. Mobiloil also just so happens to be in Texas, so that cowboy theme's really coming into focus here right now. But Impact 2023 is a conference that we regularly attend, and I know that the Invo team absolutely loves attending that conference, attending Cornerstone's annual meeting. So, Jake, do you just want to tell us a little bit about what you experienced at that conference?
Yeah, definitely going to be ready for summertime. It's already a little bit warmer down in Texas than it is here in southwest Missouri. But that's all right. My allergies are one of my things I brought back with me after being down there.
Yeah.
But all jokes aside, the Cornerstone League is a really important relationship that we have at Invo Solutions, and we've been working with them for several years. And just in the last year, through the merger of the Heartland Credit Union League and the Cornerstone Credit Union League, we've seen the Missouri and Kansas markets come together with the Oklahoma, Texas, and Arkansas markets, which for us happens to be a very client-rich area. In fact, the concentration of our client base through organic growth at the very early stage of Invo was predominantly in the Midwest, just because we're geographically located. And so we've got a significant customer base in that group. So coming to the Cornerstone event is always a lot of fun, as you said, and we definitely enjoy ourselves. It's an opportunity to see dozens of clients over the course of just a few days. And we were successful in that. We also had an opportunity to make a lot of new friends, and that was also a huge success. We were fortunate. A number of our strategic partners were there as well, and so shout out to our friends at DBE and QSI and Federal Protection for allowing us to also participate with them. And so we gave 4 Yeti coolers away in the course of a couple of days, and took a handful of our newest released Yeti cups and gave those away as well, which it was just a lot of fun all the way around.
Yeah, that's awesome. We love getting away those Yetis, don't we?
It tends to be close to our heart. Not a shout out or anything there.
Oh yeah, that's some good branding. I'm going to talk about what that logo that's on there in just a second. But we all know about these conferences. Some like them more than others. Why do you think that it's beneficial for banks and credit unions to be attending these sorts of events?
Yeah, I've really been impressed by the networking is huge, and I don't want to understate that, because I think one of the most valuable things that we can get from a vendor partner, just as much as it is for the financial institutions that attend, is the opportunity to hear what's going on across the country, or in this circumstance, what's going on across several states. So to hear, who's innovating with different things, what are they seeing, what's the latest in strategy from a technology standpoint. Also, in the nature of the industry right now, we're seeing a lot of things happening financially for citizens of the United States. I think it's also good to be aware of that side of things as well, and listening to how we can be better financial partners. So I think that's great. But the education continues to just get better and better. So we think about some of the speakers that I've been able to sit in on over the last couple of months, but specifically at Cornerstone, just talking about technology from a state of like, how does cryptocurrency play a role in servicing members at the credit union? How does operating in the metaverse, what does that look like? Is that on anyone's strategic plan? If it is, why are we looking at those things? Safety, security, and soundness in the industry as well. When you think about some of the bank failures that we've witnessed this year already, what are credit unions and banks doing to ensure the safety and soundness of their organization? And the less siloed we can be, I think, then the better of a financial partner that we're going to be. And for me, in our perspective, it's like, how can we contribute to that, from advice, strategy development with products and services that we might offer at Invo, but also sharing out what we're hearing from our clients coast to coast and border to border so that we can bring some of that value as well, Ryan.
Yeah, no, that sounds awesome. And I just kind of mentioned this just a second ago. This wasn't 100% planned, but we also have our own conference coming up. Before you know it, I guess I should say, it's September 26th through 28th. That is the third annual Invo Summit conference. So the first one was virtual, the last one was in person, and we're back in person in Springfield. Yeah, so you want to just take a few minutes to tell our insiders what that's going to be all about?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm excited. September will be here before we know it. I don't want to rush through spring and summer. But, this is going to be a lot of fun. Last year, as you said, it was a lot of fun. We had a lot of action-packed content over 3 days with activities. This year is going to be the same. It's going to be a lot of great content. We're targeting with some major announcements from a product standpoint. We'll highlight a lot of new enhancements and features that we've already accomplished some of those, but that we'll be making announcements publicly in September. I'm really excited to make some announcements very soon about some special guests that are going to be joining us. And so that'll be really fun, I think, for a lot of people, in addition to the involvement we'll have with our clients. So having an opportunity to tell our clients stories, I guess there's a couple things we can kind of tease. So first ever Invo Invitational golf tournament will be taking place on that Tuesday morning. And so that first part of the conference will actually be having an opportunity to enjoy some golf, which some of our staff will tell you they're probably the most excited about just for that. But I won't name names.
Not me.
No, I'm not.
It is not me.
Ryan would be voting for a pickleball tournament if we're doing anything.
Yes.
Or an F1 simulator tournament.
Yeah, that one's the one.
Maybe that's what we target for the 5th anniversary.
Yeah. No, I would rather go down to Branson and do some high-speed go-karts, but,
Maybe we can get somebody from Formula One to come and speak next year.
That would be amazing.
So we'll see.
That'd be amazing.
I'm just trying to tease some things so Ryan sticks around longer. So it'll be good. But we've got some other fun surprises that I'm not quite ready to release yet, but tune in next month. And then we might in June let a few more details out of the bag, but we're going to do something we've never done before at this coming summit, with honoring our clients that have done things that no one else has done. So kind of highlighting, putting a spotlight on what best of the best looks like. I'm going to, as much as I'm going to tease there, because I'm really excited to make that announcement, probably maybe even next month.
Yeah, no, it's exciting. I'm excited for it. I had a lot of fun at the summit last year. I think there's just the content that we got to see last year and getting to replicate that this year. Maybe adding in some new stuff. The golf tournament, I'm not so excited for. I used to like golf a lot. I golfed last year, did terribly, didn't want to go back, and then I went to a driving range and literally hit the club head off my driver, and I think that was a sign that I'm not supposed to golf anymore. So not as excited about the golf tournament, but we'll have the same sort of stuff going on this year, a lot of the same exciting things. So if you went to the summit last year, you probably got emails from us. But you can go to invosolutions.com/summit to learn more about this. If you want to register for this, we'll give away a ton of stuff. That's one of the awesome things we did last year. We'll give away, everybody that attends will get an awesome package for them specifically when they get there. They'll have the opportunity to win prizes all throughout the week. So it's a really exciting time. It's a really awesome experience. So I'd really encourage you to go to invosolutions.com/summit to find out more. So with that being said, though, I don't want to delay too much longer. We want to get into this interview real quick. Brooke Collins, like I said, the AVP of Virtual Services at Mobiloil. They're some of our oldest friends. Mobiloil was actually the very first interview on the Invo Insider last January.
Yeah, that's right.
So we brought him back for an encore performance, and Jake got to virtually sit down with Brooke to discuss just some ways that Invo's continuing to help Mobiloil. So without further ado, let's hear from Jake and Brooke.
Well, good morning and welcome. We are so excited to have you with us today, and I am very excited because I have the one and only Brooke Collins from Mobiloil Credit Union with us today, and Brooke is the AVP of Virtual Services, and we're going to get into all of that, but we're going to go straight to real talk to begin with here. And I asked her a question about if she had a theme song, what would it be? And she had two, and one was Walking on Sunshine, and the second was Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger by Daft Punk, which is a personal favorite of mine. But why are those your theme songs, Brooke?
Oh, well, I think Walking on Sunshine, I always try to look at the positive side of things. I've been accused sometimes of being a little bit too positive in difficult situations. But if you really know me, you know the harder, faster, better, stronger sounds like the inside of my brain with all the different changing tunes and getting off track and, you know.
That's great. And I just picture you starting off with your alarm ringing in the morning with Walking on Sunshine. But then as you pull into the parking lot at the credit union, you're listening to Daft Punk. I figure like that's like your routine every day.
It sometimes be like that.
As it should be. Well, Brooke, I'm super excited to have you here. And I know many of our insiders that are joining us today know who you are and know the story of Mobiloil, but we also have just as many that aren't familiar. And so I would like to give you an opportunity to just share your own personal story. So if you wouldn't mind, just let everyone here know a little bit more about yourself, your career path, the journey that you've had within the financial space, bringing us up to where you are today at Mobiloil. And you can go as far back in as much detail as you'd like.
All right. Well, I started off with my first bank job about 20 years ago. So, you know, I had to be about 5 years old. And I was a teller for a little bit. I was able to move my way up the ranks there, became a branch manager pretty early on. Stayed in that role for quite a while. I've now been at Mobiloil for about 5 years. I've made the good switch over to the good side of things, the credit union life. Yeah. And recently, just the end of last year, became the AVP of Virtual Services here.
That's great. Tell us a little bit about what the Virtual Services Department at Mobiloil means.
So we manage the call center side of things. I say we because I do have a partner in crime, Tish Adkins. We have two different hubs. So we have the call center, and then we have all of our video banking agents, some of our outbound calling representatives, and our loan specialists, which help us process and close the loans.
That's awesome. And of course, I know Tish as well, and Tish is wonderful. And maybe eventually we'll get her on here as well. We'll see about that.
You should.
If I can strong arm her like I did you to get on here, but I feel like you're going to have this as leverage over me somehow after today.
Never.
No, that's
you guys have done too much for us.
Well, I appreciate that. You know, I've always been a big fan of Mobiloil, and I've been intimately familiar with the story of what you guys have been doing over the last 5 years. But tell me from your perspective about what you think makes Mobiloil unique as a financial institution. And it could be within your markets that you serve. It could be as a credit union in your market or differentiating yourself. But what do you think it is that makes Mobiloil unique?
I really think it's just our desire to improve our members' lives and to meet them wherever they are. We don't necessarily have a specific type of member that we cater to or try to work towards. We really just try to understand where everybody is at in their life and help them improve upon that, meet their own goals.
No, I think that's great. You know, how do you think that listening part, you know, has become something that you guys have been so successful at when it comes to servicing the needs or different strategies that your members may have? I feel like you guys do a fantastic job of listening to that. What are your thoughts on why that's successful for you at Mobiloil?
I think just listening to our employees' feedback and, you know, listening to their interactions, I think that's something that Invo has helped us with. But being able to be present and review back, make sure that they're asking the right questions and that they're truly hearing what our members are saying has really helped us a lot. I won't claim that we're perfect, but we are trying to get better every day.
Well, I think that's probably what helps, that statement right there. Like every day, taking the approach of, hey, what can we do to better ourselves a little bit more than what we did yesterday, right? And I think if you're being just transparent and that there's always room to do something better, then that's what you're going to accomplish and achieve for sure. So tell me a little bit about the department. So the virtual services area of Mobiloil has evolved quite a bit over the last couple of years and even here recently. So talk to us a little bit for those insiders that don't know the different channels that are serviced through that, and maybe the different products and services as well, and then how those things have evolved over the last couple of years.
Oh, I think, we play around and say the only thing consistent here is change. And that really is true. Our credit union has really restructured quite a bit. I mean, even just things as far as our processes, having our loan specialists come in and help process and close the loans, whereas before our video bankers did it from beginning to end. I think how our departments were designed previously, virtual services meant something completely different than what it means today. All right, help me out. I've already forgotten the question.
No, you're good. So I think that's interesting to me is the term virtual services, and that's why I keep diving in a little further. I've seen it be defined differently in a lot of different institutions. So I'm just curious for our guests that maybe don't know, what exactly do your virtual service agents do? Are they fielding all incoming calls? Are they handling only specific calls or queues, different channels? Like some of our clients that we deal with have virtual agents that take phone calls, take chats, take video calls from interactive teller machines, take video calls from the Invo platform. Some are even splintered off, and there's some that are servicing in-branch video, some that are doing web or mobile. Maybe as comfortable as you are getting into the weeds there, what does it actually look like for a day-to-day routine for one of your virtual services agents?
So our virtual services agents actually handle members regardless of the channel that they come to us in. So I mentioned before that we manage the contact center, which is the phone center. So if members are calling in, also our video banking agents take turns taking loan applications through the phone center as well. We also handle the online applications, the members that come into the branch, and the members that come to us through our Mobiloil X, which is our mobile app for video banking.
Yeah, and I want to talk a little bit about that in a minute as well. So you mentioned a lot of different job functions. Are all of the agents supporting all those functions all the time, or do they flex at all, or do they focus on different areas, or are they servicing all that all the time?
So we do schedule certain folks to do certain job functions on different days, but they're all trained to do all of them. So if we realize that one channel is busier than the other and we need to pull folks from one to the other, they're pretty flexible throughout the day. There are, of course, dedicated phone center agents that all they're skilled for is just answering the phones. We know we need that job role very consistently. Same thing with the video bankers. The majority of our folks there are on that channel. But then we do dedicate different ones to trade out and take the lending line, is what we call it, applications over the telephone, or to pull in the applications from our online banking platform and work those.
Yeah, that's awesome. Are they scheduled like in a specific cadence, or do they flex based on where the volume and the demand is at any given time? Kind of how do the decisions make who's tackling what on what day?
A little bit of both. We typically rotate monthly on who's taking the telephone applications and who's working the online applications and who's just strictly on video calls. But as we see the need, if we have a busy Monday and our video calls are super high traffic, we might pull somebody that's taking on the online apps to cover those video calls of people that are here right now ready to see us. We also have on the contact center side what we call e-services reps, which handle some of the new accounts that come through online, as well as our chat and member emails. So several contact points, but we're here to help members wherever they're at.
No, I love that. And it's interesting. That statement, wherever the members are at, that's something that honestly I've really heard resonate quite a bit in the last year. And as we see preferences in how members want to be serviced and even channels that they're using evolves and changes, it's really creating efficiency based on what they want that experience to be. And I know you guys have amazing technology deployed in many different areas, and I want to kind of get into some of that as time allows, but let's go back before we move off of this topic. And you mentioned the term Mobile X. Mobile X, I love this project, and I love whenever it was launched, the branding that was attached to it, the way that you guys marketed and promoted Mobile X. Describe what Mobile X is for those that are here that have no idea what that even means, because it's not a motocross. It's not a motocross rally circuit like it might sound. So Mobile X, what exactly is that, and how did you guys even come up with utilizing that name?
So, I really don't remember how the name originated. We talked about that a little while back. I think it was just a way to differentiate an extra service that we were providing to our members at the time. But it is basically our Invo Solutions software on a mobile app, and we branded it with our name instead of Invo Solutions, so that when people search Mobiloil, they can easily find that, as well as our regular online banking app. And it was deployed shortly after COVID as another way to reach our members that needed to get to us, and our lobbies were closed.
Yeah, and your feedback ratings in the App Store are incredible. I was looking at that not too long ago to see how the app was still ranked and how it was rated, both inside of the iTunes Store, the App Store, as well as the Google Play Store. You guys have had glowing reviews from your members, and I think the technology enables those things to happen, but really what I believe the members are rating was the experience they had with your staff and the virtual services agents, which I think is the most important thing. So hats off to you and the team, because you're doing all the right things. I think it's great.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think about opportunities that members have today to seek out a financial institution to service their needs. And I think, it's easier than ever to find alternatives if people aren't getting taken care of. And I know you guys do a tremendous job of loyalty within your membership base. But, what are some of the things you think Mobiloil is doing to continue to be competitive or remain differentiated, in the market that you guys are serving in the Beaumont, Texas area?
I think very similarly to what we talked about before is listening to them, implementing ideas that are generated from both our members' feedback as well as our employees' feedback. I think that's crucial. And I think being open to change. If you look back just the last 3 years, how different the external environment is and how different the marketplace is. Members' needs and wants are constantly changing, and I think we just have to be adaptable and willing to move with them.
No, I think that's exactly what it is, Brooke, honestly. And I still remember coming down and having an opportunity to see the strategy that you guys were putting into place pre-COVID. So that would have actually probably been early 2019 when I first came down and saw what you're doing in the branch with the video offices and talking about Mobile X at that time. And you guys you were doing the right things. You were in the right place at the right time before 2020 ever happened. But boy, that changed everything. And so let's talk a little bit about, that time period for the members. What did you guys experience from the channels that your members were using to interact with the financial institution during that time? Did you see shifts in the channels that the members were using? How did you guys service members during that time? Share with me a little bit about what it was like to do business at Mobiloil with your membership base during that time period.
So, during the time period, we had been, planning to move forward with mobile at some point in the future, but we weren't quite sure how we were going to manage it or what that was going to look like for us. I'm glad that we had been forward thinking in planning for the future, but when we deployed, it was because we had made a business decision to shut down the lobbies when COVID first started and everybody was unsure, and we wanted to make sure all of our employees felt safe and that we didn't lose staff over the crisis. So when we deployed, we were only working by appointment with very strict guidelines for our members, so it wasn't easy to get appointments to come and see us. And we had pretty heavy branch traffic in most of our locations, so our members weren't able to reach us in the same way. When we deployed mobile, it was wild to see. I think for a pretty good while, from the day that we deployed, I think we had maybe 70 interactions through Mobile X the very first week, and it increased by at least 100 every single week thereafter for quite a while. And even to this day, our lobbies are fully open. Members can get to us however they would like. We've expanded our staff, but we still have close to 50% of our calls are app calls.
Yeah, and that's an incredible statistic. And of course, like you said, you guys are tracking that, so you're analyzing the data and putting some net promoter scores to that. So, are you attaching surveys at the end of those engagements? How are you capturing feedback from the members after they've walked out some of that interaction?
So we capture feedback from a variety of ways: social media, just asking questions in our lobbies. We've done some just different survey monkey things with QR codes. We do have a survey at the end of our interactions, basically just a couple of quick questions about how their service was. And we are currently working on deploying a survey so that we can capture more member feedback about our hours and what channel members like most, and if they would want appointments in the future for different things. So fingers crossed we can make that happen really quickly.
Yeah, and that's great because you're asking questions that will actually drive strategy when you talk about being able to schedule appointments. And again, listening to the members, I think that's a consistent thread I'm hearing through many of the conversations that we've already had here today, which I think is awesome. Talk a little bit about the experience that you guys have crafted and built at Mobiloil from that branch to the digital channels on your website and on mobile. How are you able to accomplish a consistent engagement, a seamless engagement, perhaps is the better terminology, because the way you guys are doing it, I think, is unlike what a lot of other credit unions are doing?
I think some really great decisions were made at the onset by the leadership at that time. It was difficult to change, but what we did was went one branch at a time and went all in. We pulled all the bankers to a centralized location and went all video office at one time. And we scheduled employees to work as a guide, as we called it, as a warm body that would greet the members, help sign them in, walk them into an office, explain what the office was and what was going to happen, check in on them if there was a wait time, bring water, deliver back paperwork or debit cards or anything that we've printed that the member needs, and just kind of serve as that concierge and warm welcome while we interacted through video. And I think eliminating the choice, we're humans and we're always going to be resistant of change, even if the change is for the better. And I think eliminating that choice, while it sounds harsh, was really the right way to go, because once members tried it for the first time, they found that they liked it more often than not.
Yeah. What's funny is I can actually tell a personal story on what that lobby experience is like. So I remember the first time I came down, of course, we had scheduled the visit and whatnot, and I arrived and didn't, announce myself when I arrived. And so I just wanted to go in the lobby and kind of do that whole secret shopper thing, right? So anybody that's ever worked retail knows what a secret shopping or secret shopper is. So I wanted to walk in to see what that experience was like for a member or a non-member coming in the lobby. And I remember walking in to your main facility, your operations center with the retail branch, and being greeted by the guide, and the personal touch that came with that experience, I think, was far exceeded what I expected. And and I've walked in at this point in my career thousands of locations across the United States, but I was greeted. I was shown respect. They didn't know why I was there, but asking me questions, called me by name, and little did I know some of the questions he was asking me, he was capturing right in the tablet. So he's putting my name and my information in. And then whenever he finally came to the point of realizing who I was and that he was actually using our software, he got a big kick out of it. But what's interesting is that lobby is a large lobby, and you at that time had video offices kind of around the perimeter that used to house employees, and then the traditional teller line, and the branch, which was huge, didn't feel big. And I think that's what I noticed from an emotional perspective right off the bat, was that personal engagement. Even though he was using technology to engage me, made that branch feel much more intimate. And then he was identifying, hey, do I need to go into a video office to open an account or accomplish whatever my need was, or do I need help with the teller line? But it's interesting because a lot of the things we hear are deploying software or technology like the video offices and the Invo kiosks and branches can tend to create or drive a wedge between the financial institution and the member. And what I actually think that I realized in seeing how you guys had deployed was you can actually do the opposite. You can use these things to draw the member closer And then tell them before they leave, guess what? Next time you don't even have to come in if that's more convenient. You can do this from home with our remote services as well. So this is kind of my tip of the cap to you and the team, and how you've deployed it. And you've been using Guide for quite a while. You call it the Guide, the concierge platform. But are you using that in all your facilities? Kind of what does that look like as far as the strategy goes across all of your operational footprint?
We do. We use it in every single branch location. We now, are fully live in all of our locations that have been for a little while. And we train the entire staff there to be able to input members in. They can also check the wait time. That way they know if there's a member that's been sitting in Smart Office 1 for a little while, they know to run over there and check on them, poke their head in like a doctor's office would. We call it the doctor knock, give a light knock on the door and reach in. Hey, how are you doing? It looks like it's going to be about 10 more minutes. Can I bring you some water? Is there anything you need? Hopefully it's never that long of a wait, but ideally it can be.
Do you do the lollipop at the end of the doctor's visit?
Oh, of course.
Do they even call it a lollipop? Am I dating myself? What is it, a sucker? I don't know, a lollipop.
Hey, I understood exactly what you were talking about.
Yeah, and let me ask you this. Do you still have dog biscuits at any of your drive-thrus?
No.
Anybody that's been in this industry a long time knows exactly what I'm talking about. If you've ever drove up to a pneumatic tube system when your dog's in the car and they send a dog biscuit through, I always thought that was hilarious.
Hey, people love that. We still try to do it at some locations.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm not saying to stop it for sure at any point. So let's talk about where we're at today. So 2023, it's a unique time. I have used this example, and I'm going to share it with you to kind of get your thoughts. But we see retail in our commercial interactions, just as a consumer in the United States, I think changing more rapidly than we ever have, just with the conveniences of online shopping and delivery and same-day service and food. I think we're starting to see our expectations transfer out of food and retail and consumer to the financial space. What are your perspectives on how banking has changed over the last couple of years and to kind of bringing us up to today? And then we'll talk about what we think is coming next. But what do you think you've seen as far as how banking has changed significantly over the last 3 to 5 years?
Well, I think obviously the impacts of the economy are huge, and that's a cycle. I've seen it be the way that it is now, several years ago, and I think that's always something. But I think that the digital interaction with members, if you upset a member in your lobby, they are very likely to go on Yelp or Google reviews immediately and post their experience. They want immediate help. They want convenience. They want to finish everything that they're needing to do in one interaction. And I think that on-demand life is way different than how we operated a few years ago.
No, I think you're absolutely right. How do you think maybe things that we've done to help accommodate that, or even some areas where you think there's still room for improvement? These are just your general thoughts. What do you think about that?
I think some ways that Mobiloil is working to improve that is actually through the Invo Solutions platform. We've made it to where multiple departments can reach out, even if they're not trained as agents on the Invo, with the ability to invite a guest. You can also invite through email another employee, and all they have to do is click on the link, have a camera software, which I think everybody uses Zoom at this point in their life. So that one's not hard. And let's say a member needs to talk with somebody in account resolutions because a family member passed away that had a loan with us and they need, a little bit more guidance. Instead of sending them away and saying we'd have somebody call them a day or two later, we can just invite someone into that call, get that member helped right away, get the answers that they need, and move them along. We've done that with our legal team. Any department in our credit union is not off limits at this point. I think that's really helpful and provides more of a seamless experience. I think y'all's platform has also helped us in the ability to re-queue. There's times that members may come in for one thing and we uncover that they have a problem or a need in another area, and being able to transfer to agents that are working in that area helps make it easier for the members.
Yeah, in fact, that might be a feature of the system that you guys help to impact.
Well, we appreciate your help.
Well, there's a lot of other financial institutions across the country that are benefiting from that, but that is actually something that you guys really help to drive just from an operational standpoint, which I think is awesome. But there's something you mentioned there, and I think it's so familiar to you and the culture at Mobiloil that you don't think anything of it. And that is the ability for anyone to be available to respond to a need from a member at any time. And you referenced the requeuing part of that. You also referenced the ability to invite. But the other side of that is just having staff that has bought in to the value of doing that. I mean, sometimes it's, and this is my own personal perspective, right? But some people just don't like to be on video. Some people don't want to be on camera. Now, we've all been forced to do it, right? And, of course, this is my day-to-day, so all we do is live in video at Invo. But, you guys have been so progressive in adopting it and deploying it. And not only that, but your members have adopted it. But internally and operational, you referenced a number of different departments, all the way including legal, that are willing to jump on, join video calls, collaborate with the purpose of serving the member. How did that happen? And as long as you're comfortable answering that, because I think that's something that I hear a lot from a perspective of being challenged as a new user or someone who's just now adopting this technology. How do I get my teams to buy in? How do I get my teams trained? And how do I get these different departments to also come on board and go alongside this? Share a little bit about how you guys have been so successful at that.
Well, I think, let me not kid you in saying that everybody's just jumping on board. And when we mention, hey, I want to put you on video calls, that's not something that's going to cause a party in most circumstances. But our core values really are around just being there for the member and helping them and providing a more efficient experience for the members as well as for our departments. If you think about, an email or a service event or however other institutions do things, somebody's taking the time to type that information in, they're sending it to another department who then has to monitor some sort of inbox, and then they have to respond and they have to call the member back, and then God forbid the member needs to come back in with documentation or something.
Oh, yeah.
It's just dragging out a process that could have taken 5 minutes. So I think that's kind of where it begins. And as far as getting the buy-in from our employees, seeing is believing. Tish and I have oftentimes showed, our team, hey, let me come to your office. I'm going to invite you. I'm going to show you how it works. One of us will sit with you, let you see exactly what the member would see. We'll have somebody from the branch walk into an office, or we'll call into Mobile X on our own device and just show them what it looks like from all the perspectives. And once they see it, they realize exactly how easy it is. We also make sure that our trained video agents stay on the call if we're inviting, another department or somebody who's not familiar with the platform. We stay on the call with them. We just let them, interact and speak with the member. We've also found, and you might not be aware of this either, you don't necessarily have to have your camera on. So if you're talking to somebody maybe in our legal department or account resolutions, and they don't want their name, for security reasons displayed to the member, we invite them in using their department name as the invite name and have them join with their sound on and their camera off.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's great. That functionality is being used by others as well. And I think that anonymity, which is a good thing, like you said, for security purposes, still helps you to address some of those things that need to be addressed, which are uncomfortable, right? But sometimes if you can, like you said, get multiple things done in one interaction, then everyone's going to win through that. And I think it comes back to member service, which is what you've put in front of everything, and I think you're finding more ways to be more efficient in that area. And I'm going to take just a second to kind of be a little bit of a congratulatory. I know you said not everybody throws a party when you're on video, but I'm going to throw a party for you and Tish, because what you're doing is you're being champions for this vision, and the willingness to say, no, this is what you have to do, and this is why you're doing it, but instead, let me show you how this works. Let me show you how easy it is, the value that exists there. And I think that that also works on the other side. And I've heard this story shared as well, which is sometimes if members are apprehensive to use something new, it's like, hey, let me sit down, let's do this together. Let me kind of work alongside you. But I would say that whether you recognize that or not, Brooke, the fact that you and Tish take time to champion that and help those different departments or individuals who may be apprehensive or just have questions to walk that through, together as a collaborator, I think goes a long way. I really do. I think that's a huge win for you guys.
I appreciate that. I think it's what we would all want.
I agree. I absolutely agree. So when you think about what happens next, and this is always just like let's just go blue sky with this, because there was a few years ago we thought interactive teller machines, weren't going to replace ATMs, and I think that's happening largely. We thought video offices were going to be cumbersome for interactions. Electronic signature capture. Who would ever thought we would be doing that on a regular basis? But what do you think? What do you think's next? If you guys are looking at, or when you consider what Mobiloil's looking at, what is on the radar from you guys from a strategy standpoint? I know you're on a growth mode, so you're growing. Are you looking at branch designs? Are you looking at technology, different things to use? If you're willing to share, I would love to hear kind of what's on the radar for you and the team.
Yeah, I think all the things you mentioned are things that we're looking at. And while you can't do everything at once, it's important to evaluate all of that. We are absolutely in a growth phase, but we're also identifying technology and all the different software providers that we use and seeing if there's a way to consolidate and, streamline into a couple of different platforms that handle all the things that we need done instead of having so many different logins and ways that we do things. I think we're streamlining. We've already done pretty great work on streamlining the way that we take loan applications or new account applications. Before, it was different in every single department, and every single platform operated a different way. So I think that's improving some of our efficiency.
Yeah, and boy, that's an ongoing process, isn't it?
It is. And I'm hoping in the future we can have kind of that omni-channel experience. I know everybody's looking at that right now, but it's truly so beneficial if you can have the ability to change channels per se from the members when it's needed. If you need to get video verification with the member who's on a phone call, the ability to switch back and forth seamlessly with that member is key. I'd love to be there soon.
Yeah, well, I agree. And you guys have been one who have been very vocal about different areas where you think there would be more value. And it really comes down to the same thing, which is that member experience. Like, how do we continue to improve the member experience? But I also think that's why you guys are unique in the market too, is that you're constantly seeking, how can we do what we're doing today better tomorrow? And then also, what do the members think about it, right? And you listed off a litany of ways you're listening to the members earlier, and I think it would be thoughtful for anyone who's listening to kind of write those things down and consider that. Talk a little bit about things that have happened. I always love the stories that come out of times that the platform, and I'm speaking specifically to Invo in this circumstance, whether that's remote through a digital channel or that's in a branch in a video office. But do you have any stories that you'd like to share, or any experiences that have happened that you think would be fun to talk about?
Oh gosh, I think so many, but some of my favorites are when you have family members that have a need that comes up and you need to meet with both parties. I remember years ago telling people you're going to both have to come in at the same time so that we can take care of this. I think the ability to invite people that might be in different locations is fantastic. You have a Army wife at home that needs to get an auto loan and has no credit and needs her husband on there. We can, invite him in and schedule a time that's good for him whenever he might be in a completely different state so that we can get the auto loan completed for them. Or you have somebody that unfortunately ends up in the hospital unexpectedly, the ability to meet them there without physically taking a laptop and driving there.
I love that story. I've heard similar stories, not the same version you shared with the Army wife, but we've had situations where one of the spouses is at home with kids, right? And so maybe either a child is sick or they're maybe homeschooled, and the other spouse is working in the professional environment. You could literally have 4 different people from 4 different areas collaborate together. And those stories are always some of my favorite. But you know what stories I also like are tragic stories of crash and burn failures. So this is let's rip the Band-Aid off. Do you have any horror stories or anything bad that's happened when you've had members come in and try to use the video office and they're not for it? So I like to be equal opportunity here. So do you have any outliers there that you can recall? Oh, great. So many. Wait a minute. I just asked for one.
I think in order to have success, you've got to have some failures too. You've got to know what works and what doesn't, right?
Amen to that. Yeah, for sure. What do you got?
I think most of the failure points that we've identified happen when we don't have that warm body paying attention to the members in the smart office. And that's probably a lot of the reason why we haven't gone to a sign yourself in situation, which works for a lot of people. I think it just doesn't work for us. And the reason being is people can get lost in our opinion. So some of the failure points I think is maybe one person greets the member, signs them into an office, heads out to lunch and forgets to hand our iPad to another person to indicate that they're on duty for that. So they're maybe tied up at the teller line with another member, and our video banking agent is messaging the branch saying, hey, this member has documents. Hey, can you come help us? Hey, the sound went out in here. How do you help? And I think those are the times that we cry about our failures. It makes it harder on everybody. You've got to have that person and pay attention and make sure that we're doing the best job that we can to take care of them.
You haven't had anybody yell through the video feed yet at anybody, or is that you trying to suppress those experiences?
I actually don't know of any time that a member has. Yes, I do.
Oh,
I did get yelled at one time.
You got yelled at?
I
personally?
got yelled at.
Oh, now we have to go into this story.
Oh, goodness. Yeah. We try so hard to say yes. My goal is to always tell members yes. I will find a way to get whatever they're needing done in most circumstances. But I did have a situation where a member got escalated to me. I took over the call, trying to assist them, trying to find a way to say yes. And this member did not like any of my solutions to her request. She wanted it exactly how she was asking for it, which was unfortunately something I couldn't do. Yeah. And she did yell. I forgot all about that. It hurts your ears a little. And it also scared the guide. The guide came running in.
Oh, no.
Messaging me, are you okay? I'm like, I'm fine.
Now I feel bad because I feel like you've suppressed this memory, and then through therapy, I've drawn it out of you.
I told you, I'm walking on sunshine. I only like to remember the good stuff.
Let's go. I agree with that. I love that. Oh, my goodness. It is funny now. Probably wasn't funny in the moment, but yeah. Did you keep the member, or did they leave?
I did.
See? Look at that.
We got it under control. It just took maybe the double team approach. Someone else coming in and
Brooke brought him a little sunshine. Yeah.
It took 3. One wasn't enough, 2 wasn't enough. It took that third person in a group chat.
Oh my goodness. I love it though. You know what? You got there. You did get there. One of the things you talked about there, which we haven't got into, and I don't want to share this just for the sake of functionality and experience, but everyone doesn't do this the same. And so we have a number of clients that have deployed our lobby platform in the video office, and they have made each unique office almost just its own standalone operations. But I think you guys do it a little different, where you've got the guide operating kind of from a centralized hub. So if you've got new members, you've got welcome packets. If they're printing things off, they're doing that to a centralized location. Is that still true? And if that is, or if it's not, kind of walk through what that looks like operationally.
Yeah, as far as our employees being the one to sign the members in, we definitely still handle it that way. And part of the reason is just because we want that interaction. We want everybody in the branch to be aware from a security standpoint too of who is where in the building and what are they doing. And then also so we can check on them if there are wait times. We do have pretty high volume at different times throughout the day. And so we don't ever want to forget about a member if there is a wait time. So we do still sign in that way. As far as welcome packets and printing documents, that was where we began. We do, of course, print anything that the members need upon their request, but we are trying to move a little bit more into the digital space and DocuSign or send emails with documentation for members that don't need it physically. But they're definitely still that guide as that check-in person.
Yeah, I love that. I still just think that adds that layer of personal touch. And you're still getting the efficiencies, right? Because you're not having, a whole team of all those product and services representatives at every location. You have them centralized. So that efficiency is still there for sure.
And the help with staffing is tremendous.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. Have you guys tracked any of that, just as far as the efficiencies on the staffing side goes, like what that looks like from a metric standpoint or an efficiency standpoint? Are you looking at any of that on a regular basis?
I think we've grown and changed so much. I don't think I'd be comparing apples to apples, but I can tell you from experience, I was a branch manager at a location with, physical bankers prior to us going this route. And, if I think I had 3 designated bankers, but there were times that maybe one was on vacation, one got sick, one had an emergency, and all of a sudden I have nobody in the branch to open accounts or do loan applications. So we're having to call and get people to drive in from other locations. And just, I feel like it was a constant juggle, so much so that we actually had a floater team, a pool of people that would just drive to different locations as needed, as people, got sick or were on vacation. We would actually we would pay them mileage just to drive to different locations to work. So that staffing challenge is a thing of the past. Now, staffing is staffing. We definitely have illnesses and emergencies and training and vacation to contend with, but with everybody in a centralized location and with everybody having the ability to service members from any location, it does eliminate that shuffling and that drive time and that mileage expense. It's just, hey, everybody, try to stay on calls as much as you can. And this is how many people were down today. So keep an eye on it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot easier.
Oh, for sure. A thought that just crossed my mind was, I remember it was probably a couple of years ago, I was having a conversation with somebody else at the credit union, and you guys occupy a unique space in our country anyway, being on the Gulf of Mexico, and you're affected by weather, right, more than a lot. And that's the blessing of the curse of being so close to the water. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, you guys have also rolled this technology into some of your disaster recovery program strategies. Is that correct? So in the event of something tragic happening, you guys are still able to service the membership base. Is that true?
Absolutely. Same thing with COVID. We actually sent our entire staffing that could home to work from home. And with this platform, it's really easy to do. We do have a team of people if we had to evacuate for a hurricane. Some people, we ask them to bring their equipment with them and check in, and they might be setting up in a remote location to still continue to service our members. And some might travel with the credit union to our designated hotel to take care of membership. So it's definitely made that easier rather than just saying the credit union shut down until we can get a location open.
Yeah, and what a benefit for your members, because that's not something that everyone can say, I mean, for me, I wish all of the credit unions could say that, because that'd mean they'd all be using Invo, but we'll get there eventually.
You will.
Eventually. Thank you. See, there's your optimist side again. Yeah, you're in good company. So it's hard to believe that you've already given me almost 45 minutes of your valuable time, and I am so grateful for that. Is there anything else that you would like to share with the insiders today before we wrap up? Any feedback, any pearls of wisdom from the office of Brooke Collins?
I think the only thing that I would say is you're not receiving a no to anything unless you ask. And I think Invo has done a great job of helping us learn how to work the platform in a way that fit our needs and being able to adapt and change that as we've progressed through. So you can really make it your own and make it service whatever gap or whatever need you're trying to fill. Jake hasn't told me no to a question that I've never asked.
That actually made me think for a second about that I'm tracking. Well, you guys are good at pushing us, which we appreciate and love, and I think that's great. And it's also one of the things I think is most important is you guys find ways to innovate and do something that maybe we haven't identified as a company. And I also think that's one of the things that I'm the most proud of from a product team standpoint at Invo is that we are not afraid to say we don't know everything. And if we're not listening intentionally and also letting you drive that innovation, then we're not getting better. And you've heard me say this before, which is, our best source of R&D, our best source of research and development is our users. And so you guys are looking to improve processes in the branch or do unique things online in the digital environment. And if it doesn't exist, going back to your comment about an omni-channel experience, how do we help enhance that or push that? So I will always say yes to listening. I can't always promise I'll say yes to your requests, but that's just so my product team doesn't get mad at me. But I want to say yes to I would consider almost any ideas that you have.
And you have. I think that's why we work so well together is you listen.
100%. I love that. Well, Brooke, this has been great. I really am appreciative of your time. And if you're willing, I would encourage everyone who's here today to connect with Brooke. She is active on LinkedIn. It's a great place to connect, to see what she's doing, and also to reach out to her through that channel. And then also follow Mobiloil Credit Union on LinkedIn as well. They are constantly putting things out there that share both the innovation side of the credit union, but also the culture side, which is very near and dear to my heart as well. But with that, I think that though we'll let you go, Brooke. Thank you so much for your time today.
All right. Thank you. Have a good one.
You do the same. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Welcome back. What an awesome conversation with Brooke. It's always good to hear from our friends at Mobiloil, isn't it?
Oh man, it's great. And we were joking earlier about how we kind of kicked off the whole new insider idea of what this brand is going to be with Mobiloil, and it's kind of fun to honor them and bring them back. I just love to celebrate what they're doing, Ryan. And there's so many things we talked about with Brooke, but a couple of the things that I just can't get out of my mind. There's a few, but for me, it's that personal experience that I had when I walked into their branch for the first time several years ago, and how they're using our concierge platform to develop a lobby experience for their members. They call that lobby guide, but what is it like to walk into a branch, be greeted with by somebody with a warm smile, capturing all that information through through the tablet platform on the concierge, but finding a way to get closer to members instead of further away with technology, I think is such a huge win for what they're doing.
Yeah, and I think honestly that's the goal, right? Like that's we talk about almost every single week or every single month on the podcast. That is the goal. We want to get closer to the member. We want to help customers and members or help banks and credit unions to serve customers and members better. And I honestly loved even just the whole concept where she didn't actually mention this phrase, but how they really went all in on this from the very beginning at Mobiloil, where I think she had mentioned, or I think maybe my favorite thing to hear her talk about was the decisions they made before they even deployed, where they were kind of deciding how they wanted to deploy it. And they made the decision to centralize their staff to do all these things that were maybe an all-in move. Like they're saying, we're going all in with video, and how it paid off in the long run. And I think there's obviously there's going to be fear of going all in on anything. But to see it pay off for them, and even hearing how all the employees that they have are trained in concierge to where they can at least if there's no one at the front desk, there's nobody that can greet a member, everybody in the office or everybody in the branch is trained to be able to get them where they need to go. Or even she talked about the knock on the door. I forgot the exact phrase she used to describe it, the doctor's knock, I think, or whatnot.
The doctor's office.
And even the fact that every employee can also jump into a video call if need be. That they're all trained to do that, not just the specific people that had the role of maybe in the call center have the role of being a video officer. So I love just how they went completely all in on that.
Yeah, I agree with you. And you could just hear by the way that Brooke was sharing the details of the story and the strategy that she's passionate about it. And she referenced her counterpart, Tish. Boy, they are lockstep in how they do this. And to have champions within the organization to really push this. I think it's helping it to be even more successful. Like she said, the example of everyone from legal to collections are joining these calls, sometimes not even with video, sometimes just using audio connections through the video platform for the sake of anonymity and security. But what a great way to use this for a solve that, honestly, we didn't even necessarily intend out of the gate. But, kind of in that same vein, I think about what else have they done with something that we've created with an intention of operating one way, but then doing something a little bit different or even better. In this circumstance, definitely better. But the idea of taking our mobile platform and then branding it. And she even talked about how they didn't want to just roll out Invo video banking on mobile. They wanted to roll out a product that was familiar to their membership base, that would resonate in the communities they're serving in the greater Beaumont, Texas area. So that's where Mobile X came from. Mobile X has got, number one, I love it. It's aggressive sounding. I mean, it sounds cutting edge. Like Mobile X, is it affiliated with Mobiloil Credit Union? What is that? And, wanting to even check it out. But she didn't even talk about this, but they push a lot of marketing and advertising content out through a lot of different media outlets. But I think that for me, and this is important to both you and I, right? I mean, you are our creative manager at Invo, and so I know you're passionate about this, but it's creating a unique and personal brand that literally encompasses what Mobiloil is all about, Mobiloil Credit Union's mission is all about, and then putting their stamp on it, and then putting that out there to serve the membership base in a way that there's a lot of other financial institutions in their markets that have our technology, but they're the only ones who have branded it and really cornered it into be this unique product called Mobile X. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, and I think even from a branding perspective, because obviously that's the stuff I love to hear about here in the marketing advertising side of things, you can build an awesome brand, you can deploy awesome products, but yeah, if you're not marketing them to your members, to your customers, it's going to be really hard to see success in those areas. So even seeing them to take that initiative to create Mobile X, which is just an awesome, like you said, awesome branding, but then to really, really push it. It even goes back into that sort of just the all-in nature they have towards this project, that they are completely committed to offering these things to their members, and they're committed in brand, they're committed in marketing and advertising. And I think that sometimes that could be a mistake. That's not just in banking, but just in general. It's a mistake of, we have an awesome product, it's amazing, but we didn't market it well enough, and we're sort of like, well, then why didn't it work? And that's a part of it. You have to push it, you have to brand it, and they really have done an awesome job with it. And I think you even mentioned earlier something I took away from this as well. You mentioned the having from like other departments being able to jump in. And I loved even hearing about requeuing, because for me, if you guys are listening on the Insider, if you've been on a demo, you've probably seen my face on a demo, and I've even got to sit in the requeuing process, because for me in the demo, that's the point in time where I really don't do anything. At every other point, I'm doing some sort of action, but there I just kind of sit there and nod my head. I'm waiting for Hope to tell me what to do next. So I see the requeuing happening. I hear her talking about it, but then to hear it from this perspective, knowing that Mobiloil really did help to push that process, it really did help to sort of like bring us to the point where we could offer that. And seeing that like you were saying, that employees from other departments can come into a call so that a member doesn't have to. So let's say they are on a call, they realize they need to talk with someone else. They don't have to jump off the call and wait a day to talk to somebody or set up another appointment. They can right there have their question answered. They can start their maybe their transaction they need to have happen right there. And that's the whole point. Like, that's why this exists. So that instead of having them have to go to 3 different people or 3 different like offices, whatever it might be, they can right there at the touch of a button say, oh, we actually have someone that can talk to you about that right now. And I think that's amazing. Even just hearing them use it. We hear these stories on a monthly basis, but it's always encouraging to hear.
Oh yeah, it is. And you talk about us getting to hear stories, and that to me is what I actually took away from everything that Brooke talked about. There were several things you could pull out of that about the listening side of things. And so whether that's enhanced experiences in branch, online, even things that they wanted from us that we weren't offering. But the heart of this is the member. And so, I couldn't help but think of so many examples that she shared where someone on the team, but more importantly, as an organization, that Mobiloil Credit Union listens intentionally to their membership base. And I think they're honestly making strong strategic decisions about the future based on the feedback from the members. And she and I remember I asked this question. I was like, so how are you capturing this information? Well, she went off on like 6 different ways they're listening and capturing information. So it's not just, hey, we send a survey out at the conclusion of whatever. It's we're actively talking to members in branch. We're soliciting feedback through digital channels. We're issuing surveys after video calls. We're looking at the feedback that's being left on different outlets like Google and things like that. So it's about measuring what you can measure. But instead of just saying, hey, we're going to follow what's always worked traditionally and lean into that, instead we're going to operate with open ears and lean forward. I think that that's a huge, huge differentiator for them. And honestly, I think that's why they're continuing to innovate a little bit more in some circumstances, but in most, a lot more than other institutions in their markets, which is just going to help them to continue to be differentiated competitively when there are so many other options out there for them.
Yeah, and hearing that, I mean, it's not surprising given, I mean, what we even talked about at the beginning, the fact that from the beginning of this project that they were saying, no, let's push all in. Like, this is a new project, but let's go all in. Mm-hmm. And it's not shocking. It's not surprising to us that they're continuing to innovate. And I think getting to the heart of it, I mean, it is for the member, it is for the customer. And so to have, it's one thing to say like, hey, we want to serve them, we want to find the best ways to serve them. It's one thing to say that, but then to actually do that requires us to listen. It requires us to maybe make difficult decisions and do things like you were saying, that's maybe not the way that it's always been done, but the way that your customers or members want it done. And I think the benefit for Mobiloil, what they see, and the benefit that they see is that being at the cutting edge, being the first one to do it, you get to reap the fruit earlier, and then you get to solve problems before they even present themselves. Whenever other banks and credit unions might be scrambling to solve those problems, they're already ready. So I love to hear that. It's really exciting and encouraging to hear, specifically from Mobiloil, just because we have such a long history with them. But I have to ask you, just at the end, I want to know, based on this whole interview, you have to sit down with Brooke, you have to have this conversation. What would you say is the bottom line that you took away from their conversation?
Yeah, the bottom line for me is let's learn from those that are doing things great. And so we talk a lot about, hey, use this in this way because someone has already kind of, like you said, taken that path. They've blazed that trail. They've been willing to bushwhack through the woods to get there. Being in a situation where Mobiloil had a vision for doing something different than anyone else has allowed them to be successful, yes. That doesn't mean that everyone else still can't be successful in their own way and can't utilize this playbook to be successful. And the best part about this is they're willing to share that. So I think for me, the bottom line is I hope that everyone that joined and listened to this, or maybe is listening to this right now, has been willing to see, okay, this is how they've been successful with it. How does this fit into our plans and our strategy? Because they're willing to share that with you. And my hope is really that it's given you an opportunity to kind of learn from, here's some things we've done to be successful and things we've added over time. Well, you can come out of the gate with those things now because they've opened that, back to that same terminology, they've opened the playbook for you. So I think having the willingness to connect with those that have gone before, that have already done some things to be maybe on the bleeding edge and learn from their successes and learn from the mistakes or missteps that maybe happen along the way is only going to be a much better recipe for success.
Yeah, and what's the phrase in sports? It's a copycat league, right? Like there is a degree where like we can listen to interviews like this and hear testimonials like this, and this is stuff that we can look at and say there's a track record here, like there's success to be found here. So yeah, it is encouraging, and I think it's challenging to us to maybe look at ourselves in the mirror and say, well, how can we improve? Like how can we maybe take those sort of steps that may be more difficult or maybe not be the least resistance or path of least resistance, but that at the end of the day, like our customers and members are wanting us to take, and it will increase customer or member loyalty, will increase revenue, sales, whatever it might be. It really does require us to be sort of like they were able to sort of take a step out on the ledge, be an innovator and a disruptor in the field. And I love hearing about it. But I think that's all the time that we have for today's episode, if I'm not mistaken. Make sure to subscribe to us wherever you get your podcast. Sign up for the next Invo Insider event, which takes place on June 7th.
Yeah.
You can register for that at invosolutions.com/insider. You can also watch the May version of the Insider if you click the link in the description. And also don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. So if you want to just stream the Insider on a monthly basis on YouTube, You can subscribe to our channel. We post a video every single month, or the stream every single month, so you can get a notification whenever we go live. So don't forget to do that. And as well, if you want to attend the Invo Summit, if you want more information about that, visit invosolutions.com/summit as well. It's going to be an awesome event. You can see it on Jake's mug. Get a bunch of free stuff. You'll get to play some golf, and maybe if you're good, enjoy yourself, but most of us not so much. But with that being said, I think that's all that we have for this month. Do you have anything else to add, Jake?
No, thanks for being here. We appreciate you guys spending time with us, just like we appreciate Brooke joining us as well. So until next time.
Take it away. Say it.
I'm going to let you say
it. Okay. Viva la Invo.
Viva la Invo.